Hang on, hit record. Okay, I am just going to share with you guys a little bit about my journey and what I have learned, especially in the last 3 weeks. I am by no way an expert, but I have definitely stuffed my head with a lot of information in the last 7 to 10 days. And I'll share my aha moment with you guys when I realized that I needed to bring this out and share it with a lot of people, because I'm realizing more and more how much of an epidemic this is, and it all ties to gut health. And I'm going to hopefully I'm going to do my best to share with you guys why. So those of you that have known me long enough, you know I have said, obviously I've got my holistic nutrition certification, and so Neil and I eat clean. I mean, we're not perfect. We go out to eat, you know, we drink wine and alcohol. I mean, we definitely are not purists, but we eat pretty darn well. And let's see, hang on. I'm going to screen share so that I can share you guys my slides. Okay. So to me, I had all of these random symptoms. Can you guys see the slides okay? Amanda, I can see you, so shake your head if you can. Okay. All right. So this is really, truly, guys, becoming an epidemic. And as I go through these slides, you'll probably realize more and more what a sense of urgency it is to make some changes in what you're eating. Because I will say, I know a lot of this stuff, and was still a lot for me to learn. And so I'm hoping tonight I can share with you guys so that you can make changes, maybe help yourselves feel better, but then also spread this on to your family and friends as well. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. Obviously, when I started with Beachbody, I did Chalene Extreme, ate really well, blah, blah, blah. And weight came off, I don't want to say easily, but I was getting results. I saw results from my effort. So that was March in 2012. I think it was like 118 there. And over definitely the past 2 years, I had noticed that the more I was doing what I was doing before, I just wasn't getting the results. I was becoming more and more frustrated. So I would calorie cycle. I mean, I would do everything that was in my bag of tricks to do that I knew that was safe, and was still not getting results. So naturally, the weight loss was really frustrating for me, but was more frustrating than not losing weight was how I felt. And so, you know, I really, truly didn't think any of these symptoms had anything to do with one another. I thought they were all so random that it just must have been the signs of being in your 40s or maybe premenopause. I mean, I can't tell you what I chalked it up to. You know, middle age, stress. None of it to me was any indicator of something I had control over, which got me to be really frustrated. It wasn't until about 3 weeks ago, I found myself every single day. I literally could sleep till 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd wake up, and by 8 o'clock at night, and literally I sit a lot of the day and I work out, and, you know, I don't have like this main physically stressful job. I could go to bed and just knock out sleep, be exhausted. I was having a hard time focusing during the day. Let me switch the slide. I noticed that my skin, which I once thought looked really great, was starting to just look dull. It looked like just drab and dull. It didn't look as vibrant to me as it used to look, which again, I'm like, well, maybe it's just age, you know? I have been experiencing muscle aches and joint pain to the point where I did not want to work out. It literally would hurt to go up and down my stairs. If I sat in one position too long, my back would hurt. Like, it felt like I would have a stabbing pain in my back. I felt like I had like arthritis in every single joint in my body, to where I'd work out, but I couldn't push myself. And I would want to cry, because I'm like, what the heck is wrong with me? I used to be a soccer player. I would push myself. I loved working out. And Neil and I literally would go for a walk and it would hurt. We'd be a mile away and I wasn't sure if I could even walk back. I hurt so badly. And then I also remember about, I don't know, 6 months ago telling my mom I was scared to death I had some neurological disorder because I would get random numbness, like in my extremities, like my feet would go numb, or I'd get a patch on my arm that would just literally go numb, and in my arms. And I'm like, do I have some neurological disorder that I need to know about? Like, why do I have this numbness? This is crazy. So I had all these random symptoms. Oh, whoever's got the 919, hang on. Whoever's on the, oh, there we go. Okay. I had all these random symptoms and just chalked it up with whatever. And it wasn't until about 3 weeks ago, I was literally just like, I know this is random, but I reached out to a doctor friend of mine that I used to call on back in pharmaceutical sales that I'm very good friends with to this day. Absolutely love him. His name's Dr. Scott Gebert. And he doesn't practice medicine as a private practice. He works at a hospital, but he was somebody I knew I could reach out to that has, although he's a medical doctor, and his degree is in obviously conventional medicine, he very much has a functional medicine mindset. And I'll explain the difference in a little bit. But functional medicine basically is they consider what they need to do with conventional medicine, but whereas conventional medicine kind of wants to blow out the smoke, functional medicine wants to figure out what's causing the fire. And they want to treat with what is the underlying symptoms of what's going on, as opposed to just treating the symptoms with medication. So I called Dr. Scott and I said, you know what? I'm so sorry to bother you, but I am not feeling well. I don't know what it is. Everything that I have done in the past is not working. And the telltale thing for me was I did the 3-day refresh. And normally people lose, 3 to 5 pounds on the refresh. I did the refresh. I actually did it for 4 days. I did not lose 1 pound. I didn't even lose water weight. I lost nothing in 4 days. And that's when I was like, I felt so defeated, which is what made me call Scott. But I felt so defeated. I'm like, how can I not even lose weight on like a 900 calorie cleanse? What is wrong with me? So I shared all these symptoms with him, and he said, Shay, he said, you are textbook case for having hypothyroidism. He goes, I'm going to tell you right now, everything you just said are all the signs of hypothyroidism. And I said, no, that's not what it is. I had my thyroid check, because I thought that might have been it, with my last OBGYN appointment in October. And they checked my thyroid, and it all came back normal. And he says, you know what? He goes, the problem with conventional medicine is they only check certain parameters of the thyroid. So literally more than half of the women that have hypothyroidism go undiagnosed. More than half. And he says they're not checking all the other parameters that need to be checked to find out if you are on your way to hypothyroidism, if you are on your way to having Hashimoto's, which is an immune deficiency that attacks your thyroid. He said, go to a website. And he says the website is called stopthethyroidmadness.com. And I want to share this website with you because I've been on this website for hours and hours and hours, about 3 weeks ago. And this website explains why so many symptoms go undiagnosed, what causes the symptoms, what you can do. And you can even print up what tests you want to take to your doctor to have your doctor run to really see if you have antibodies towards an autoimmune disease, and if you're on your way towards having hypothyroidism. But when I was on this site and I looked at all the symptoms, literally I could have checked every single one of them off. I'm like, I was in tears. I'm like, how? I can't believe I've got hypothyroidism based on, the symptoms. So I went, he recommended a functional medicine doctor that includes insurance, that will take insurance, which is hard. I found a bunch of them in Tampa, but none of them took insurance, and it was going to be like $2,000 to go see them. At this point, I didn't really care, but he found one near my house. I absolutely love this doctor. I live in Tampa, and I know all of you don't, but she was literally 20 minutes from my house, and she accepted insurance. So she was booked like 3-4 weeks out. I got in on a cancellation. She ran all my blood work. and did not actually have, thank goodness, thyroid disease. However, when I sat down with her, I found out that I was deficient in B12 and my vitamin D was low. And a lot of us have that. A lot of us have that. And that is a sign that your gut is not absorbing the nutrients the way it needs. And so she went on for another 30 minutes explaining the whole connection between your gut and everything else in your body. And since then, I've done this summit online with a microbiome summit. I've bought books and I've really dug my head into finding out as much as I can so that I can share this with you all. So the analogy that Dr. Watson had explained to me, she's with Watson Wellness Clinic. She says, so this I've always known, everything in your body starts with your gut. The health of your gut reflects your dental, how your dental deterioration is, your cholesterol. Literally everything starts with your gut. What I didn't realize was the connection between the gut, inflammation, and an autoimmune disease. And that's what I want to share with you guys tonight. So the irony is even though, because I said to Dr. Watson, I'm like, I eat really well. Like, let me tell you what I know. And she goes, you know what, Shay, here's the thing. You're 43 years old. Even though you've been eating great and have made awesome changes in the last 5 years of your life, those 5 years are not going to undo the 40 plus years of eating Roundup and ingesting chemicals and all the antibiotics that are in the foods that you put in your body that kill your gut ecosystem and your gut microbes and the toxins that you breathe in and all of those 40 years of things that you've put in your body and Swanson TV dinners I ate as a kid, all the processed food that you've done all up until this time, the last 5 years is great. She goes, but just like she goes, think of soil, and we can't keep extracting and growing food in the soil and expect it to come out and have nutrients. The soil gets depleted. And when our gut gets depleted and we are not putting the right kinds of probiotics, the right kinds of foods, the right kinds of things back into it so that it gets those nutrients, we can eat clean all day long and we're not going to absorb it. And yes, I've been drinking Shakeology, and I'm going to tell you when I get later on in this discussion, I truly believe that I did not have a full-blown autoimmune disease because I was at least drinking Shakeology with the digestive enzymes and the probiotics that it has, which I'll get to later, because I am literally on the cusp of a full-blown autoimmune disease. So what we do, even though I've been doing great for the last 5 years, I've not been doing anything to really restore it. I'm kind of like just slowly deteriorating and getting worse. And to be honest, I still eat gluten. I've still eaten, dairy. I still drink alcohol. So all of those things deteriorate. So if you're extracting more than you're giving back to your gut, you're going to cause inflammation. And what's interesting, she said, is especially with gluten, we have so many autoimmune diseases in the United States that in some third world countries don't even exist. A lot of the main diseases that we have here in America do not even exist in third world countries. And the ones that we have started to export our foods to are now starting to get these same diseases. It's fascinating. So diseases like all of these that start in your gut and gut inflammation. So back to what I was saying before, inflammation is the root of everything, but your gut is the grand central station on what everything comes out of. So after I left my appointment with her, I messaged actually Darren O'Lean because I highly respect him. And I told him what my results were, and I spent another 30 minutes on the phone with him, and he completely told me everything that she had told me, and then some, because he travels all over the world, and he's a vegan, and would just really explain things in layman terms for me. And he is actually doing a study with a physician out in LA on this epidemic of autoimmune diseases and gut health, and helping women know what to do to prevent this. And I say women because for whatever reason, it affects women way more than it does men, although it does affect men. But when you think of inflammation, so this is what happens and why the gut is so important. It's literally, it's central station to everything in your body. Your metabolism, and this is what Dr. Watson had explained to me, she says, even your metabolism starts in your gut. So if you can improve your metabolism, almost act as if you do have an autoimmune disease, you will start losing weight. Because when you improve your gut health, you'll improve your metabolism. And you think about those of you that are coaches, and how many of your customers aren't losing weight, or they're at a plateau and they don't know what's going on. They may need to really set back and really think about maybe taking a 30-day gut health rejuvenation, which I'll get to in a little bit, and drinking their Shakeology every day and working towards restoring that gut microbiome. That's like an ecosystem. You want it like the freaking Garden of Eden. You want it growing. And we take so many antibiotics that kill it out, and then foods and gluten and stuff like that I'll get to. But what happens, we take all these things in, like gluten and alcohol and stress. So you think of chronic stress, right? When we get stressed, our body releases an enzyme called cortisol. The problem is nowadays, like cortisol back used to be like fight or flight. Like we were getting chased by a freaking rhinoceros and we're like, ah, and you run and then the stress goes away. But nowadays we're in a constant state of stress. So we're living with chronic cortisol levels in our body that increases inflammation. So even foods that we were not once sensitive to, we become sensitive to, and it becomes like the chicken or the egg, like what came first, because now everything becomes inflamed, which is what was happening with me. Every time I would eat, my stomach would hurt. Even the most sensitive food. And Darren said, Shay, he goes, really, you need to just minimize everything you're doing with food and slowly start adding things in. And if you get a reaction to it, don't eat it. But you have to go back to the very bare bones of what you can put in your stomach until you restore your gut health. So what happens is we eat these foods, our stomach becomes inflamed, they get reactions to it, those reactions, then what happens is our immune system says, oh, wait a minute. So what our immune system does is it fights off disease. So it thinks our body is under attack and it goes and attacks what it thinks is harming us. Well, when we have this chronic inflammation, hang on, let me change slides. When we have this chronic inflammation, if you look at the top, what happens, then we don't start absorbing nutrients, which is why we're deficient in B12, which triggers an immune response. So now our body's like in stress mode, like stranger danger, something's going on. And we are in this high, like our body starts attacking certain organs of our body. So if it's attacking the thyroid, that's Hashimoto's. If it's attacking the spinal system, it's muscular sclerosis. If it's attacking the skin, it's eczema. Then you typically start having GI issues to multiple foods. Things that you were not sensitive to before, you become sensitive to. Then the next phase is a full-blown autoimmune disease. 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So if your gut is not healthy and right, and you're doing things to replenish it, it's going to deteriorate, and this cycle right here is going to start, which is what happened with me. And that's called leaky gut. So what leaky gut is basically chemicals penetrate, especially gluten. Gluten has so many chemicals in it now. It's not like gluten like what it was 100 years ago. It's so genetically modified. It's basically like little bullets through our intestinal system. And so this is what's called leaky gut. At first I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I don't understand what leaky gut. This is what leaky gut, it's this cycle right here. And for me, I don't know if you can see my cursor, I'm like right here. Okay. So What is an autoimmune disease? Again, that is when our body, our immune system starts to attack itself. And I wanted to give you guys examples of what autoimmune diseases were, because I had no idea that how many that existed. But when our body attacks our thyroid, that's Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, thyroiditis, the GI tract, that's celiac, Crohn's disease, colitis, if it's your lungs. I mean, there's so many. Muscles is fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis if it's in your bones, in your brain. It could be autism, Guillain-Barré, multiple sclerosis. So all these different ways that your body can attack itself, and all the triggers are right here. Stress, hormones, metals, food antigens, pesticides, and poisons. And so I want to bring it back to what I've been eating for the last 40 years, probably what most of us have been eating for the past, the entire majority of our life, and the effect that that has had on our gut health. And you think about how many people we deal with and talk to every single day that aren't even doing as good a job as we are with what they're eating. They're eating processed foods, they're eating fast foods, they're eating things that are making this process happen faster and faster and faster. And what is crazy is that once you have one autoimmune disease, you are 99.9% likely to get 2 to 3 more. And there's no cure for an autoimmune disease. You can manage the symptoms, but there's no cure. So if you go to a conventional medicine doctor and you have something wrong with your thyroid, they're going to put you on Synthroid, or they're going to cut your thyroid if it's something like Graves' disease. They're going to put you on more meds that are going to treat the smoke, but do nothing for the gut health to delay or slow down the onset or the symptoms. It's pretty scary if you think about it. But we have so much control over what we put in our body, and we can restore that ecosystem inside of us so we can start feeling better. So my doctor, Dr. Watson, suggested this book called The Autoimmune Solution. And Amanda's on the call. I recommended it to her a couple days ago when she reached out to me after seeing my post. And it's literally blown my mind. The thing with Amy Myers, she's a physician who obviously has gone to conventional medicine practice, is now a functional medicine doctor, but also suffered from Graves' disease, which is when it has a thyroid autoimmune disorder, which makes her thyroid hyperactive. So she was like constantly losing weight, losing muscle mass, sweating all the time, couldn't focus, had massive insomnia. And the doctors ended up cutting her thyroid out. And so with all the symptoms that she had and being a doctor, she felt like, gosh, there's got to be a better way for autoimmune diseases, so then she dug into the whole functional medicine thing. And now this book is amazing. And she has created a 30-day plan. She tells you what to eat every single day to restore your gut health. Step by step. She explains in the book why. She explains about gluten, why things aren't what they were 50 to 100 years ago, why these diseases are so prevalent, why they're so prevalent in our society. And she does it from a very professional medical standpoint. And she's helped literally thousands of patients who were not able to get help otherwise with their autoimmune diseases. So one of the things she talks about in her book is the spectrum of where we all lie on having a full-blown autoimmune disease. And so here's obviously there's no inflammation going on. 1 symptom up to over 3 symptoms. And this could be months, this could be years, but it seems to me, working with Beachbody, I am talking to younger and younger people that are having full-blown autoimmune diseases now in their 20s. Specifically Hashimoto's. So our younger generation, based on the foods that we're giving them and feeding them, are having this process happen way more quickly. But I was definitely right here. And I know for a fact it probably started you know, I felt like I could count in my head at least 24 months ago, because I remember just having small random symptoms. But this is what kind of brought me to brought me to tears. This was my aha moment when I realized I need to do something and share this. Because with me being literally right here, it could have been another 6 months to a year before I had a full-blown autoimmune disease. You guys know how in Facebook, that little time thing, like this day, you know, last year, little time hop thing? This came up in mine on February 18th, 2013. So this came up 2 weeks ago in my news feed. And I was like, wow, what was this post about? And I'm reading it, and this brought me to tears. Because 3 years ago, I had these same symptoms. And I went to the doctor, and they just chalked it up as age. And even in my posts, I'm like, well, welcome to the 40s. And everybody's like, yeah, aging sucks. Yeah, you know, it's just a natural part of aging. I'm talking about my numbness, the pain in my back, everything. I wrote right here, I had these same symptoms 3 years ago. And when I saw this post, that's when I knew there's got to be people out there or on this call that if I can find them, if I saw this, what I wrote 3 years ago, I would have been like, those are my symptoms. And I could have prevented the last 3 years of deterioration in my symptoms had I known. This was at the point when I had realized I had it then. And I've been suffering for the last 3 years, not knowing that I had options. So that was my big, like, wow, I have to take this bigger, and I have to share this with more people, because I don't want you all to be right here or here, anywhere on this spectrum, and not know that you do have options, or tests that can be run, or things that you can do to better your gut health. Okay, so what we need to do, the very first thing is we need to cut out gluten. And to be honest, I kind of just didn't really take gluten seriously until I read Dr. Myers' book. But basically what gluten does, and it's our new gluten, it's not gluten from 100 years ago, but basically what gluten does is it gets in, so this is a healthy intestine, it's got all these fibers. It deteriorates the fibers, and then it deteriorates it enough that you end up having holes in your intestine. So that is essentially what gluten does, day after day after day. And when I was reading Dr. Myers' book, gluten is in so many things. Even things that say gluten-free aren't necessarily gluten-free. So honestly, guys, I would just cut out, personally, I am cutting out gluten, wheat, all of it altogether. So here are the things that she says, and I'm giving you, like I said, I'm not the expert. I've read her book, and then I've done this whole microbiome course. I posted it in the group, the courses that I've been doing this past week. Not the expert at all, but I will tell you the main things I have taken away in the last week. You want to avoid gluten, dairy, soy, and sugar. Those are the culprits. To really, those never do your gut any good, ever. And dairy, you guys, I don't know if you've read my article on dairy, but dairy, literally the only purpose of dairy is to fatten babies, to give babies the breast milk and the antibodies that they need. We're the only species that drinks dairy and dairy products as adults. We're the only ones. And we drink it once it's been pasteurized, so there's not even any good nutrients in it, because it's been pasteurized to kill anything that's worthy. So dairy is just something I don't think that any of us need. And then people give the case of, well, you need it for calcium. Well, here's what's interesting is our country consumes the most amount of dairy than any country in the world, and we have the most amount of bone fractures and osteoporosis. And the countries that consume the least amount of dairy have the best bone health. It's not getting absorbed because you're not getting the magnesium, you're not getting the full effect of everything else that dairy is supposed to give you as an infant. Soy, you guys know soy goes right, it affects your thyroid, your estrogen levels. You want to avoid anything with soy. And if you want more about dairy, I have a really good article on my website. Just type in dairy and you can find it. But I go into depth about dairy and then alternatives to use instead. And then I don't have to go on about sugar. Okay. So in part of her and Dr. Myers's 30-day diet, so these are things to avoid all the time. These are things just to be mindful of. So she's not saying don't eat them, but if you're not feeling better, you may want to eliminate these one by one. And then if you start feeling better, you can maybe add them in and see how you do. Basically the same thing that Darren had told me to do. But all of these things, what you are putting in your body, you want to be mindful of that they do not include the pesticides and the antibiotics. You want to buy organic as much as possible because all you're doing is you're dumping these pesticides right into your gut, which is going to deteriorate them. Okay, so you guys may be doing what I did at one point. This is the other thing to be mindful of is the chemicals you're putting in your body, the toxins and the stress, and really trying to at least once a day find a way to de-stress yourself, whether it's a walk, you're working out, meditation, whatever it is, but finding a way to de-stress because you've got to get those cortisol levels down. We're literally like a freaking tornado going on inside of our gut if we don't get control of what we're putting in it and how we manage it. So I don't know about you guys, but after reading the book, I'm like, okay, so what does that mean I can't eat? Because I like to eat. And listening to this microbiome summit the past few days, almost every single physician in the summit recommends eating paleo or paleo, however you say it. And some of them recommended books specifically. Both of these books I ordered. I'll probably get them in tomorrow. I can't recommend them personally yet because I have not tried them, but they have amazing reviews on Amazon, like 4.5 out of 5 stars and over 1,000 reviews. But what's great about these two books in particular is it teaches you to eat not only paleo, or paleo, however you say it, but it also focuses on autoimmune. So it's directly going to help. So even like Dr. Watson said, Shay, you don't have a full-blown autoimmune disease, but if you treat your body and eat as if you did, you will reverse your symptoms, you will reset your metabolism, you'll start feeling better, and you'll lose weight. So my thinking is, well, why wouldn't I just have everybody eat like this? Because based on how we're treating our bodies and what food is available, we're pretty much all going down this road from what I can tell. So these two books I have ordered, I can't tell you if they're great or not from personal, but based on the reviews, they're freaking awesome. Something that Dr. Watson had recommended to me and I bought, this has nothing to do with Beachbody. She doesn't make a profit off of this. This is not her company. This is a totally separate product. And I called Darren and I asked him about this product and he said, this product is freaking amazing. Yes, buy it. So that was all I needed. I'll be a lifer. But this product is called Restore, and I'll put the web link in the group. But Restore, really, you take like a tablespoon a day, and it helps regrow and regenerate your gut health. So along with eliminating things that are deteriorating it, the Restore will help get it back to where it needs to be. And Darren said this product is freaking amazing, and you can do it on an auto ship because Neil's drinking it too. So we're like doing 2 bottles a month. It's like $55, $60 for the month. So I wanted to share that with you because that's something that my physician shared with me. I ran it by Darren as a second opinion and he was like, it's brilliant. Yes, get it. So there you go. The next thing is Shakeology. And you guys know I love Shakeology, but I want to share why specifically this is great for your gut health. Number one, the digestive enzymes help clean out your gut health. And I truly believe if it wasn't for Shakeology, I would have a full-blown autoimmune disease by now. I think it was like but it's like basically having an umbrella in a rainstorm and a hurricane. It can only do so much if you're not doing the rest. The digestive enzymes in Shakeology help break up a lot of those processed foods. The probiotic, for those of you that are newer on this call, the probiotic in Shakeology is truly unique. And I had a physician teach me this. Most probiotics, so let's say you go to the grocery store and you buy yogurt, you buy something with probiotics in it, you know, Dannon or whatever, there's so many out there. The problem with the majority of probiotics is they aren't encapsulated, or they're poorly encapsulated. So even when they hit your stomach and it hits the stomach acid, they break apart and they don't ever make it to your gut to do what probiotics are supposed to do. So I'm not going to say you're wasting your money, but the chances that you're really getting the good growth that you need back in your gut for your gut to work right is slim to none. The probiotic that is in Shakeology is called Bacillus coagulin. And what this physician told me when I said what kind of probiotic we had in Shakeology, he goes, I am so freaking impressed because it's hard to say, coagulin is the only probiotic that is naturally encapsulated to make it through your stomach, bypass the stomach acid, actually get into the gut to do what it's supposed to do and grow the flora it's supposed to do. He goes, the only problem with that probiotic is that it's ridiculously expensive, which is why food companies don't use it. He says, I'm so impressed that your company chose to use that particular probiotic strain for their Shakeology. That made me pretty darn proud. But that is another reason, guys, why Shakeology, that's why I say to be on the vegan. The reason why I wanted you guys to be on the vegan is because, number one, it's the only one with true whole foods. There are no synthetic vitamins in the vegan. There's no dairy in the vegan. And either way, whether you get the black bag or the white bag, it's still going to have the Bacillus coagulin probiotic. But when you think back to, let me go to the slide here, this nutrient where you're not absorbing nutrients right here, that is really where I feel Shakeology does help, because the digestive enzymes are breaking up what's in the gut, and then you're getting whole food nutrients, and then you're getting the right kinds of probiotics. But that's why so many of us are B12 deficient. Those are some of your early on signs, which causes the fatigue. Okay. So those are my reasons why I feel everybody should be on Shakeology and drinking it every day to help restore their gut health. One thing I have started doing, I have it's not consistent doing, but adding the digestive boost to my Shakeology. And it's got everything in it that you need. Man, I better be growing freaking weeds in there the next month. But you know what? I'm sick of feeling sick and tired. I really am. And to think about how long I've been dealing with these symptoms. And if I had known this 3 years ago, which is why I want to be on the call with you guys. So thinking of digestive health, that does have a lot of fiber in it. One thing Dr. Watson taught me in my appointment with her, she says you want to eat, women, it says 25 grams. She told me eat 35 grams of fiber. She goes, that is the key to your weight loss. You want to lose weight, restore your gut health, eat a lot of fiber. That's why I'm adding the digestive health, one of the reasons. Here's the funny thing with fiber, guys, though. You have to slowly add it in. Otherwise, if you guys have ever gone out and eaten a bunch of beans and your stomach hurts because the fiber, it's way too much. Fiber is one of those things you want to slowly add in. Titrate up. But Dr. Watson said 35 grams is definitely where you want to be to restore your gut health. All right, so just to recap, I think this slide just really, I think all of us are probably somewhere in this spectrum. I know for me, I was probably right on the door right here, because I've been having all these other ones, at least that I can tell, for 3 years, obviously longer than 3 years, since I had it and was fed up 3 years ago when I made that post. So my whole thing that I wanted to share with you guys is the importance of researching, understanding your gut health, restoring your gut health. I would absolutely endorse and recommend this book right here to get started, to really help you dig in and understand the importance of everything I've shared in a very basic way. Definitely have not done it justice the way she does in her book. It's well worth the $25 or $30. And she gives you literally a 30-day meal plan to reset your gut. And another thing, and I will post this in the group, she gives you a quiz to take every single week. And it will tell you, you mark off your symptoms, and it gives you a score on where you are on her spectrum. You'll find out exactly where you are on this spectrum based on your symptoms. And then she wants you to, you follow her book and the meal plans that she gives you, and you literally can move, she wants you to move yourself back down the spectrum. And she suggests that you take her quiz every single week, the same quiz every week, to see how your symptoms are doing and how to manage them. So truly, I know everything has always started in the gut. That I have known, that's not new to me, but to think that I feel like I've known as much as I have about nutrition, and I was blindsided by this and had no idea. I figure there's got to be other people out there who didn't know as well, or may have an autoimmune disorder and not realize that there are other ways to treat the symptoms and try and manage it, or maybe prevent the onset of a second or a third or a fourth. I have to bring it back to Ann Wigmore, because this truly does sum everything up with what we eat. And when people say, you know, organic food's too expensive, and, you know, I can't afford this, it's just easier to eat out, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to tell you what, if you guys don't feel well and when you're sick, that's a much bigger price. It's worth the investment for what you're putting in your body every single day. I truly, truly believe that. So I'll take questions. I don't know how well I can answer them, but I wanted to share with you guys some of what I have like literally been filling my mind with for the last 3 weeks.
Shay.
Yes.
What did you say that the vitamin 12 deficiency causes? Was it depression or anxiety or something? I forget what you said. It said
it's B12.
There you go.
And it's fatigue.
Fatigue. Okay, thanks.
Which when I left Dr. Watson's office, she gave me a big old shot of B12 in my arm to try and like whoop.
Boost. Yeah.
And now I'm taking B12. But here's the thing, even if you take B12 supplements and vitamin D, because that's what I was deficient in, my body is not going to be even absorbing it the way it should, because my gut clearly is not where it needs to be, because I've destroyed it for the first 40 years of my life. Not knowingly, none of us obviously knew about processed foods and all the stuff that's in the food. Anybody have thoughts, suggestions? Amanda, you can jump on. I know you've read the first almost three chapters. What were some of your takeaways? I'll unmute you.
Well, I started reading it and reached out to Shay because I was diagnosed this week with a milk allergy and an autoimmune disease, and referred to 2 specialists. So I'm trying to figure out kind of what was going on. Dairy was obviously a big thing. Her story is basically the first chapter, so going through that. And in the part of chapter 3, that's basically describing the different types of your immune system and different things that you can do for that. So
she does a really good job, I think, saying things in terms that people can understand.
Yeah, she does.
She doesn't talk all doctory.
No.
No, which is helpful. So how many of you guys either can personally relate or know someone that could probably relate and help this information would help them? I mean, I think of challengers of mine that are like, I've done this and I'm not losing weight, and now I'm like, I need to fix their gut. I mean, and it's so much more important than like that they're drinking Shakeology. And this is the Restore, by the way. This is the size of the bottle. Actually looks really big when I put it close. It gets smaller as I move it back. But this is a month's supply, and this is, I think, like $50 or $60. I'll put it on the website. It's really cool. I'm not going to get into it today, but how they came about that. It's freaking brilliant. So that's really it. My intentions were to share with you guys, my journey, what I've learned, and, when I get back from, I've eliminated a lot of the things from my diet just since reading her book, but I'm going to do her 30-day, whatever she calls it, after the cruise. And that is why I wanted to incorporate it with this challenge group. So this challenge group isn't going to be just about this, but I wanted to give you guys a call and do a baseline. Okay, this is where we are. This is my thinking. This is the direction I need to go in. This is where I can help my customers the best, help my team the best, where we can change and have like some voice in this epidemic that is happening because people just don't know better. I didn't know better. And if we can all start feeling better, truly a difference. So that is that. I will post these links. Hang on, not everybody. Oh, Vicki, you got it. Yeah, go ahead, babe.
Yeah. Did she test for anything else besides any autoimmune, like your hormones?
She did. Yeah, and that's the difference with a functional medicine doctor is they will run. So what she said, she goes, I'm going to test you for everything that's going to be like my first line of figuring things out, which if you compare that to conventional medicine, they're only going to test for like what insurance approves, like right here. And that's why so much of this goes undetected and people are walking around undiagnosed. And then even if they are diagnosed by a conventional medicine doctor, they never mention, oh, let's talk about your gut health and how we can restore it. No, they're going to say, these are the pills. Let's put you on Synthroid. Let's give you all these pills. So you're still like, the gut's like still deteriorating. And that's the biggest difference.
How would you bring it up to the doctor when you go in for a physical? How would you bring that up?
So this is me speaking, but I would, first of all, I would go to the stopthethyroidmadness.com, that website. And there's a list you can print on there. This is what I want tested. And if the doctor poo-poos on it and is like, no, you don't need all that, then you find another doctor. Personally, I freaking love Dr. Watson, my functional medicine doctor, because she's like the best of both worlds. And that's similar to how this Amy Myers is as well. Here's another thing, and I don't know if I mentioned this on this call. I know I have on other calls. I've been reading this book for like the past 6 months called Brain Maker. This gentleman, this doctor, Dr. Perlmutter, is actually one of the speakers in the conference that I'm attending online. He is a neurologist, and he talks about how the health of your gut is related to so many neurological disorders, things like autism, Alzheimer's, oh my gosh, I'm drawing blanks right now. But anyway, tons of depression, anxiety. You actually have more serotonin receptors. Serotonin's like the pleasure principle in your brain. So when people take antidepressants, it affects their serotonin and it manipulates your serotonin. He's explained, you have more serotonin receptors in your gut than you do in your brain. So you get a good gut health going, you're going to improve those serotonin receptors, which is going to lift your mood and stabilize your mood. Brilliant. He's a neurologist. This isn't like some broccoli grower. Very well, and he speaks in this conference I'm doing. I mean, it's that book I've been reading for the last 6 months. It's fascinating, but it all comes back to the gut. Grand Central Station. So if your doctor doesn't want to run the different tests, I would find another doctor personally. And like I said, I did find a functional medicine doctor in Clearwater, but they didn't take insurance. It was going to cost like $2,000. And then I ended up Dr. Gebert found this one for me, 15 minutes from my house on State Road 54. All right. Thoughts, questions, people in your mind that you want to reach out to, but don't know how you're going to explain this? Go ahead, Becky. Oh, hang on. I'll take you off mute. Hang on, babe. Go ahead.
How would you approach young, like a lot of the people I deal with are, I mean, not kids, but they're right at their 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 year range. And I struggle with that, with the nutrition with them. And I mean, if I can get them drinking Shakeology every day, that's a win. but the schools kill me with the machines and the lunches that are, I mean, honestly, it's a battle that.
Yeah, and they're not feeling sick yet. They're not where
Right.
I've been for the last 3 years. They're not feeling sick. So they're like, whatever, it doesn't make any difference. You know, kids are tough because it's really relies to what their parents are buying and putting on their table, you know, and so you're kind of in a tough situation. I'll see if there's any, there's actually, you know what, I have not watched this seminar yet on this conference, but one of them is about kids and teenagers. And when I watch that one, I will send it to you.
Okay, thank you. I just need something, it has to be bold and it has to, like I showed them a picture of bacon grease and like that got their attention because you're going to eat bacon, you're going to put that in your body, but we're not allowed to pour bacon grease down the drain. And they were like, aha, like, holy shit, you know, kind of aha. So.
Right. Yeah. I actually bought this summit. They're going to send it to me on a flash drive. So the ones that are worthwhile, if you guys want to go through, I put the link of all the speakers and the topics in the group. If you want to go through and read the topics, they're fascinating. I've probably listened to about a third of them so far. That and trying to do my Beachbody stuff. Like, oh, I got to post.
The one of the speakers that you have listed here actually was on PBS today, and I was watching him.
Oh, really?
Mark Hyman.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, he had a whole big 2-hour thing on PBS, so it was really interesting.
He was one of the instructors in my nutritional school as well. He did one of the classes. Yeah, he's amazing. He's awesome. If you got to hear him today, he's awesome. So there's really good speakers, but Becky, to answer your question, I don't really know, but I'll see what I learned in going through these summits. And that was kind of the point of this group is obviously this is going to be a regular challenge group. I'm not changing it up, but I want to have a theme of gut health throughout it. And as I learn things and you guys are going through the process, I want to be able to share them in the group and so that we can all learn together. And so this was kind of that first kumbaya to go in that direction. So the challenge group itself is going to be basically the same one I usually run, but I'm going to drip in more educational stuff about gut health. All right. That is what I got. So I would love if you guys, I'll post these links, but if you guys want to post your takeaways or thoughts as you process some of this, I will give the recording to you guys. I don't know, maybe it would work to share it with somebody. I don't know. Whatever. You'll have the recording and you could use it at your discretion. All right, guys, have a great night.